Nature has an order, a power to restore balance. I believe he is that power, if not a great topic for Comm Talk.
Captain, we have a proximity alert with the planet Geekery. We are approaching collision.
Quicks, get somebody on the comms, enter in the security code.
257. Security code accepted.
Hello, devoted geeks, and welcome to part 2 of episode 20 of Comm Talk, the podcast extension of Geek Devotions, the YouTube show from a couple of devoted geeks who are devoted to letting people know that they are loved. I am Dallas, and as I said, this is part 2 of episode 20. If you haven't heard part 1 yet, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to it as we are discussing Godzilla from 2014. Part 1's episode, we discussed some of the ups and downs of it, things we liked, things we didn't like. We laughed, we cried. It was a big ordeal. You should go listen to it. It was amazing. I think there might have been a taco in the room somewhere. But that being said, today's episode, we're going to be discussing some of the spiritual implications that we pulled from the movie. And guys, like I said, this was a really great conversation that we had with our friends, Christy and Francisco from Retro Rewind Podcast. They are a great couple. I love them so much. I want to encourage you guys to check out Retro Rewind Podcast. You don't get to hear Christy very often, but you do get to hear Francisco's amazing partner, Paul J. Powers, who will be on with us this upcoming week as we discuss Shin Godzilla, the movie that just came out last year. It was kind of a love note to Godzilla, in my opinion, but we'll talk about that next week. So that being said, like I said in yesterday's episode, I want to encourage you guys to do me 2 big favors, and that is go online, go and search up Retro Rewind Podcast, and subscribe to their stuff, subscribe to their podcasts, check out their Facebook, their Instagram, their Twitter, and be part of their amazing community. And of course, check out Comm Talk, check out Geek Devotions' community stuff that's out there too. But check out Retro Rewind Podcast, let them know what you think of them and their thoughts on today's movie. All right. And also, don't forget to stick around till after the conversation as I talk about some really great outfits that you can have, or at least a great shirt that you can have in your closet very soon.
Don't worry, we're getting it.
And now for something completely different.
More Godzilla!
So, let's switch this conversation up. We talked about some stuff we liked, some things we didn't like, but what are some of the spiritual things we saw in this film?
Well, you know what's really interesting that just came to me now when you were talking, Christy, about how Godzilla is like fighting for people. I mean, he doesn't really care who he kills or whatnot, but he's trying to take out the bad guys. It made me think, what's Ken Watanabe's character's name?
Oh, hang on. I wrote it down. Serizawa.
Yeah. Serizawa says essentially that he's there to bring balance back. And it made me think, so is balance... I think often, especially people that were raised on Star Wars, we think that balance is like the ideal. But is it really? Isn't light everywhere the ideal? Like on the other side of heaven, I don't expect there to be darkness. I mean, at least in terms of sin, that it's just going to be all goodness. So
one side of heaven is to be balanced by the other side.
Well, yeah, I mean,
what color's your house? It's black. I got on the black side. I got on the dark side. The dark side, man. The lights are out. Everything's dark gray. I can't. It's just all shadowy.
He got the upside. I got the downside. There's 2 sides to every Schwartz. So what I'm saying, but that's exactly it. I think we tend to think that there is some duality or duality is a good thing, but I think, at least as Christians, that's really, we don't want there to be any bad. We only want there to be good. And so
we live with duality, though.
But sure, on this side of heaven, but I'm saying we shouldn't be aspiring to, if only things could be balanced perfectly.
Right. I feel like it's situational, depending on what you're talking about. I mean, God does call for balance in our lives, as far as emotionally and the highest. Being me personally, Celeste and I, we go to a more charismatic church, and so we have people that are they're just like up and they're down, and when they're up, they are like they're a little goofy, and and when they're down, and it's like God has forsaken me. I'm like, bro, it's just really, it's okay. You just you
I didn't get
the wrong thing at McDonald's.
SNES Classic either. It's all right.
Right, exactly, right. So there's a dude on Facebook hawking it for $400 if you need it. So, but there is. So I mean, I think it depends on situational. As far if we're talking about the condition of sin, we're talking about the condition of the soul being in right relationship with God. Absolutely, the balance is all light. But if we're talking about our lives as individuals and what we do and how we respond to things, I feel like God does try to call us to a center, because there is some people who do so much, and I heard somebody once say that, we talk about those mountaintop experiences and we're all excited about the being on the mountaintop, but we don't realize is that mountaintop, when God takes us to the mountaintop, it's really for us to be able to have that eagle's eyes nest, our view of the valley below, so that when we're in the valley, we can navigate it appropriately. So we can go, all right, this is not a good thing, this is not a good thing, avoid this, avoid that, and keep my eyes on what God has even further ahead.
Could you told me that 15 years ago? Would have really saved a lot of me running into, a tree. Oh, dang. No, another tree. Oh, where am I? Ow.
Get your time machine, Dallas. Go.
That's my spiritual journey.
I'm working on it right now. So
I ran into another branch. Ow.
I like to imagine my spiritual journey sometimes like that scene from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where they think the things go in the face.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm like, I thought I was doing right. Nope.
Nope. You're thinking again. Or the Doors.
Yeah. Had the size of a plane, they sent me down to check the cargo hold.
Oh, Ellen, I miss you.
Indeed.
Oh, man. So,
I think that balance is important. I mean, coming from someone who can be highly unbalanced. And then same for you. You err more, Francisco. I'm like looking at you,
Christy?
but nobody can see that I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
That you err more on the side of Vulcan logic, and your need for our marriage, your balanced direction needs to, like, you need more emotion, and then mine is more erring on the side of Vulcan logic. It's just so hard to say. Just kidding.
I think you guys are right. I was mainly speaking to our
condition of the soul.
Yeah, I guess condition of the soul, our spirituality, our place with God, and the grander scheme, the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. We want those quelled and crushed. We don't want those to be like, well, I mean, God's so powerful, we definitely need this other evil to balance him out. No, we don't want that. So,
like an equal evil.
Yeah. We're not. Yeah, exactly. We don't believe in a dualism. We believe in a monotheism. So,
absolutely,
we do.
Yet, I think it's easier to want the dual. What?
I said we do.
I think it's easier to want the dualism because we understand it better. We understand that a balance of light versus dark. We grew up on
Star Wars.
Well, I think it goes deeper than that. I think that's been a thing with, like, Greek mythology and lots of mythologies. I think have this two sides of light and dark because it's easy to understand, especially with our light and day cycle and night cycle. It's like
light and day, night.
Nighttime.
Daytime. Alan. Oh wait, that's not Alan. That's Steve.
YouTube references aside.
That's the best video ever.
All I'm trying to say is I think it's easy to get tempted into thinking, oh yeah, let's go for the Jedi and okay, yes, Jedi. Oh wait, Jedi only want balance. They don't really want to conquer the Sith. They want to, so they don't really want all good. They want a little bit of evil to stay there so that there's a balance. That's not really the right way to think about things.
Right.
Really?
We want to keep some criminals out there. We want to let some murderers and rapists.
You've been selected to be a criminal. Congratulations.
You rolled criminal. Now please select your skill.
Not shooting properly. My aim will be horrible.
You're a stormtrooper.
Yay!
But my knife skills are great. Okay, sorry for that major
absolutely.
digression, but
It's all good, and that's a really great thought too about the fact of do we really want to live it or not? I remember it was awesome when I was a kids pastor. I was talking with one of the elders in my church, and he had a son that was younger that was in the kids' church, and a lot of his friends were over there at the house, and he was telling me about how he was talking with the boys one day, and he goes, "Hey boys, we're going to make brownies." They're like, "Oh sweet, Mr. Jim, we're excited about that." He goes, "All right, do me a favor. I need the special ingredient that needs to go into this brownie." He goes, "Oh, what is it?" He goes, "Did you go to that backyard real quick and grab just a tiny, tiny little speck of dog poop and bring it in?"
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're freaking out. They're like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, I mean, it's just a small little bit." And they're like, "No, we're not putting dog." Well, Mr. Jimmy, you're freaking. Of course, these are like 7-year-old boys, and so they think he's going to put dog poop in their brownies, and they're looking at the brownies they just ate. They're freaking out, and so he definitely goes, "Look, just like you would just put a little bit of this in it. Why do we allow just a little bit of junk in our lives, a little bit of sin in our lives?" At period. And so you're right, Francisco. I mean, I think the balance is no.
yeah, exactly.
It's great.
Yeah, but not to, and yeah, but nah, yeah, but let me just keep saying filler words. Exactly.
Okay.
I think what you guys are saying, though, in terms of our day-to-day living, though, yeah, there definitely needs to be a balance. You can't be awake all the time and never sleep. You can't just be high on life all the time without, and you can't appreciate those times if you don't experience the lows also. So,
right.
I think what I'm trying to say, we all agree with one another. So awesome. We completed 100% light, so we're all good here.
Yeah, teamwork.
I don't know what's happening. Yay! I'm missing my team, man. And I don't. She's.
Yeah, get better
she's
soon. So
not here.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh man. So
You should be.
Why'd you make her sick, Dallas?
I know. Just
Don't lick her next time. No licking noses.
Don't put dog poop in her brownies.
How gross.
Oh man. All right, well, Chrissy, what's something you saw that's maybe some spiritual
Oh, I
theme?
knew you were going to ask me that. Okay. How many listeners will I make feel uncomfortable with this comment? I actually don't think of Jesus while I'm watching movies,
No, that's fine.
unless I'm watching The Passion of the Christ, or
Why
Narnia,
would you think about Jesus in that?
or Narnia, or Lord of the Rings. I just like to turn off my brain, and then sometimes when I say things like this, I'm like, it makes me a bad Christian. I'm
No.
not good.
I think that makes you like most Christians.
I think that when you have any sort of savior type archetype, you can always come back to that. Obviously, Christ being the savior. Spoilers. Just kidding.
I hadn't gotten to that chapter yet.
So many jokes. I think that I enjoy how even people who we don't believe in God, we don't believe there is a God, are still creating things that echo the savior archetype, like the one that comes in to save the day, the one that sacrifices himself for the others, the stronger one, the one that beats the bad guys, or whatever, Ford or Godzilla, either one, having those echoes of the Christ story in our media, I think is intriguing to me. I find it. I kind of want to go. You thought you could run away from it, but you actually can't. You think you're running away from it, but you're not. It's embedded deep within you, and you just breathe it out in your expression of artisticness.
Right.
All the words
in
are
your
fine.
artistic expression, yeah.
Thanks for correcting my sentence. I liked it the way it
Betcha.
was. Awkward and weird, like me. I didn't have any particular moment that was like, oh, Jesus.
Right. No, it's all good.
That sounded like I was swearing, but praise you. I don't do that very often, unless when there's more than Francisco and I talking and you bring up a point, and then I'm like, oh, no, I can see that. No, I can see that. Okay, I can see that. But I don't really originate spiritual ideas very often. When originate spiritual ideas, that's an interesting oxymoron. Anyway, y'all
Right.
know what I mean.
Right.
Yeah, when I'm watching movies or TV, unless it's glaring, like I said, like Narnia or Lord of
Right.
the Rings or
Sure.
The Passion of the
Yeah.
Christ, where he
And-
calls himself Yeshua. Sorry, Dallas, you may go now.
And honestly, that is perfectly okay. I feel like some people, what Celeste and I do with Geek Devotions, we are purposely looking for things, but there are times where I'm just enjoying a show, and I feel like that some people
Not allowed.
we over spiritualize things, we overthink things. There's a great comedian out there. He has this whole bit about being oversaved. And he goes, if you have to question if you're the one that's oversaved, then you probably are the person oversaved. It's like
That's funny.
and by oversaved, the cat's just like, how do you put it? He goes, oh yeah, he goes, man, where's my keys? Seek first the kingdom of God. Because I didn't drive a kingdom, I drove a Toyota. So,
Oh, I went to a school that was like that.
oh man. So, but you have sometimes we do over spiritualize things, and sometimes we just need to enjoy life and enjoy the things, and that's something that that's why God created things. There's things for us to enjoy and partake in. But in reality, we are thankful for those things. I'm thankful for movies because not just because it's what I do with Geek Devotions, but I'm thankful for these things because they're signs of people's creativity. And like what you said, Christy, that we see these echoes of God in them, and it may be subtle, but they're there. The Scripture says that that God's law was written in the hearts of man.
Yeah.
And so that's the reason why there's no excuse for sin. We know it's there. We know what God's law is, and so we can see those things. And if it's 2020, they pop in on us, and we go, "Hey, this is a thing that I should have paid attention to earlier."
I think in the same light of that, though, on the other side of the coin, are things that come out that are not. That we like to say, oh, but God created all entertainment and media and fun things for us. And then the devil moves into the ish, and then we go, it's okay. It's entertainment-ish.
Well, I think
And you have to be
that's
careful.
okay.
I feel like not everyone, because my son and my daughter are very different. My daughter sees something and internalizes it, and she's like, "Mommy, it makes my tummy quiver." That like kind of fear that makes you shake from your innards. And then my son can watch Deep Space Nine with me and giggle at the Ferengi. And I'm like,
Right.
he's like, "Ooh, that," and I'm like, "That's a Ferengi. He's pretend." Okay, and then he moves on. He doesn't care. He's 2. He doesn't even care. But at 2, I knew my daughter cared. So
Yeah,
there's-
she got upset at Milo and Otis.
yes, she cried. I cried at the movie The Bear when I was 5 or 6 or something.
That's a
like
little
that.
different.
Still, it's the same. It's the same thing with other people. So I can't walk around going, I actually believe that branch of movies is not spiritual and you shouldn't be watching it. But for me, on the other side of that coin, where I'm like, oh, cool, that sort of reflects Christ. When I'm watching something, I'm like, and I feel like I'm sinning right now. Like I shouldn't be watching
and
this.
I think that's exactly what people need to be aware of. That they need to discern. Okay, do I feel like is my conscience being pricked right now by watching this?
Right.
If you're trying to excuse it away, then you're in dangerous water. But the person sitting next to you, it may be completely fine and not prick their conscience at all. So it's like when Paul was telling people, if you're with those who feel like meat sacrificed to idols is not okay to eat, okay, don't eat that meat. But that doesn't mean you can't eat it on your own. You're trying to, what is it? Submitting to your brother to not be a stumbling block to them.
Right.
So I think exactly, Chrissy, you need to discern for yourself, and we're all so unique and so different that you can't just like, Pastor on Sunday, just tell me what I can watch and can't watch, because he's completely different from us. And I mean, there's definitely what there's guidelines that are helpful, but at the end of the day, we have to figure out for ourselves and for our kids.
Well, but the devil moves into the ish, though. I mean, like the true ish stuff. There was a sermon series that we did at my church on that, and I thought it was fantastic because, people, there's that phrase, you do you, or YOLO, or whatever. And I'm like, that's all gray. That's all ish. That's all in the middle of, and I think that we can do that with media, movies in particular, because you call it a movie and it's entertainment. It must not be real. So, I feel like if I say a movie, then I'm going to get people like getting upset at me. But I feel strongly about this because
Man of Steel, we already got people
No.
upset over that.
other ones, like, because whatever you're consuming, you are internalizing. And whether you are like me, where you internalize a lot, or you're like more like Francisco and you internalize less, depending on the movie and the storyline, and
I internalize less?
whether or not it's Monty Python or Lord of the Rings.
I feel like I internalize more.
No,
That's weird.
Well, some movies you do. Like emotionally.
Oh, we're talking about emotions?
Emotional.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Taking in.
I think I meant like just okay.
No,
okay.
where it affects your relationship with God. Where, so for example, if I watch a movie with swear words in it, I will start to swear more because I've heard them in 1.5 hour like segment, and I heard the F word once, and now I want to say it all the time. Whereas, like, there's other people who might have control, but I still feel like we can't just willy nilly wander around going, "It's okay for me to watch 50 Shades of Grey and 50 Shades Darker and all this stuff," and be like, and it's cool because, you know, my husband likes it. Or whatever my wife likes. I'm sorry. Is that God honoring or reflective of God in any? Well, I suppose you could really get down to it. It might be, but like, I get angry when people make excuses. I'm not making a really good point. I get angry when people say it's okay because it's media and God made all things creative. I'm like, okay, therein slithers the okay. That's okay. Watch this one now. Okay, now watch this one. Okay, now watch this one.
That's that's completely. That's a very poor excuse. Oh, God created art, so all art's okay for me, and that's very. That's like might as well walk into a minefield saying that, as opposed to, you know what? Let me get a metal detector or a minesweeper, or be like this Ford guy who gets rid of not DUIs, what's
EMDs.
If I have the proper equipment, if I've actually done some study, done some self-reflection, been in my Bible, listening to the Spirit, having all these tools at hand that help me then to entertain. And really, entertainment is like, if you entertain someone in your home, you're actually taking them in and talking with them and relating to them. And I think that's even a better way to think of entertainment, is that you're putting this movie or book in your headspace, and you're like interacting with it, not just like consuming it, which I think a lot of us tend to do. Yes.
Yeah. I very much. Yeah.
Right. Well, I think that's where our conversation of balance comes in. From earlier, there is
no balance. All light. We already talked about this.
But that's such a real aspect of it, is the concept of balance in our lives. You're absolutely right. There's certain things I'm just like, I ain't gonna watch this mess. I mean, I just won't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Yep.
And there's
like
some people
BVS, not gonna touch it with a 10-foot pole.
But there's some people like that they're cool with it. But there is a hard line. You know what? When Celeste and I've been asked about this several times with what we do with Geek Devotions. Like, well, where's the line? You know, what do you do? I was like, well, you know, Scripture says to work out your own salvation in fear and trembling.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, if I'm in an active relationship with Christ, if I'm reading the Word, if I'm in prayer, and I go to watch something, I go to just take in something, and I've sensed in my spirit that this is something I don't want to be watching, I shut it off.
Right. I do the eye check. Like if I wince and look away, or try to look through my hands,
right?
I know I should probably not be watching. And there are certain shows like Doctor Who that I will continue to watch the episodes because I enjoy the rest of it. But then there are episodes like the one we watched, the Satan Pit or whatever. I don't watch that one unless I have to.
She has to because she's watching them. I'm a new semi-fan, I guess.
Right.
I'm starting to maybe become a fan.
He's watching it all the way through with me. So
yeah.
We're watching all the ones that I would normally skip because I do the look down or watch through my fingers or So for example, TV shows, I've noticed when I wince or look away, I'm like, crap, now I can't watch this TV show or something like that. But movies are the same. Or when I think about it and I think of it like being destructive to relationships or unhealthy and because sometimes people consume things and then own them rather than separate. Like my example from before, the 50 Shades of Grey. But
I thought you were talking about the cussing part.
Well, cussing too. Yeah, I mean that movie in general is not a healthy portrayal of any relationship anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
anywhere. Ask anyone.
It's a joke.
I know. Somebody's going to disagree with me, and I'm sorry, but for reasons that don't need to be explored at this juncture, I have strong personal feelings about things like that. But
contact Geek Devotions at Geek Devotions on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and let us know.
I don't mean it as a personal affront to somebody, and if you take it that way, then I love you. But I just I think people need to be more in touch with the spirit, and they need to have discussions about the spiritual realm and how that can affect them.
Yeah.
And if you're in a charismatic church, you probably do. We do not come from a charismatic church, and so we don't very much.
We being Francisco and Christy.
Yes.
Right.
I went to a charismatic school in college and discovered that section of my life, and then through some other friends that talked more about it, discovered a lot of stuff and realized that I could become more sensitive, and I feel like that has taken some stuff out of our life that we didn't need. Like gotten rid of some stuff that we didn't need, and some of it was in the form of our media, and we had to like actually say goodbye to movies, and sometimes I miss them, but I just went off on a tangent. Francisco loves this, by the way. He loves that because whenever we do this, whenever there's no podcast or microphone, whenever we do this, we argue instead of having a constructive conversation. So, dear therapist, it's possible.
Right. But this
Go ahead.
is really a great conversation, though, that people need to have on taking in stuff and understanding the sub context of what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great point you brought up. So
2 thumbs up.
word. So
Nice.
context is actually and what we're doing while we're doing it. I think that's one of my things I saw from Godzilla itself, actually. You had this subplot context where they're building off the floor of the 1954 Godzilla. Now, it's very different, and there's a lot of things, but at the same time, there's very honoring going back to the base of, this is my foundation. And I feel like there's a lot of things in life that we do. People will get critical of ministries, and they get critical of people and other individuals because, like, well, that's not how I do it. That's not how I do it. But, you know, if the foundation is there, I think it's appropriate. I think it's okay. If it's based off the word, if it's based off prayer. You know, this particular Godzilla was based off the Japanese lore. It was based off, I mean, you had the music like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
They even brought back the fact that if you look at his body, it's scarred, and that's radiation scarring, which was a big thing.
I never noticed that.
It was a big thing in the first couple of renditions of Godzilla of showing that scarring because it simulated the same radiation burns and scars that people had from Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, and so
No wonder they like Godzilla. He seems like this sort of you understand us, but you can also beat it.
Exactly. You know, he really was the in a lot of ways very much a symbol of different aspects of culture and politics and whatnot, and for them as a whole. And so when I'm looking at this Godzilla, the reason why I feel like it's so much better than the 1998 one, and it's not just about script writing and actors, which that was a big problem with 1998. But
And they tried to be Jurassic Park. Let's be real.
right, but and that's the thing. They tried to be Jurassic Park. They tried to be so many other things, and they had removed such a base level of the lore and the concept of Godzilla that Godzilla fans everywhere were like, this is not Godzilla.
But guys, all those Apache helicopters.
Oh yeah, everywhere. So many Apache helicopters. So, but in our life, you know, we have people in our lives that they do things that are very differently. And sometimes we get frustrated. We question because, well, that's not how I would do it. That's not how I would do it. But we need to get back to the base root and figure out why they're doing it and what they're doing it for.
Yeah.
And I feel like that we'd solve a lot of conflicts, and I feel like we'd reach more people as a whole, as Christians, as ministers of the gospel. And I'm one of those ones that fall in the camp that everyone is called to be in the ministry, and it may not be as a pastor or whatever, but we're all called to do ministry in some fashion.
Jesus said to everyone, "Go."
Exactly.
Yep.
And so I feel like, you know, he didn't say everyone's going to go and you have to do X, Y, and Z in this exact same fashion.
Right.
He's like, go do your thing. You know, he paired them up and he sent them out. You know, he gave them some base directions. He gave them some, hey, you know, this is what you need to do. This is how you need to do it. But he allowed them the freedom to do it. You know, we as Christians, we believe that the scriptures are the inspired word of God, and they are the literal word of God, but that it was written by multiple people, and that it was written, God inspired it, God spoke it, breathed it through, but they penned it in their own style and manner. And I feel like that God's doing that through different people, that they're reaching people And we have to understand God's still speaking to them. It may not be your style. It may not be what you're into. It may not be the way you see things. But God is speaking to people through their style and their interests. Great example was back in May, Celeste and I had our May Movie Madness month for Geek Devotions. And our church's ministry training center actually came in and they did that month for us. And it was part of a class I taught for them. I taught them about reaching people using social media and just kind of looking outside the box to reach people in a different way. And they were so uncomfortable because they didn't like being on camera. Half the class, they're like, well, I'm not geeky. I'm like, that's okay. You don't have to be geeky. You just have to love people.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, they banged it out. They did a great job. I mean, to this day, some of their videos are the highest played videos on my channel. But I used the illustration like, yes, you feel uncomfortable in this moment, but this is a viable way of reaching people. And I used to, one of the guys in the room, he's part of the Christian Motorcycle Association. And I was like, he goes to like places.
Really?
Really?
Oh my gosh. He made a wheel joke.
See, Christian motorcycles pulling a wheelie.
Wheelie, yep.
Oh my gosh.
So
keep going on your nice point there, Dallas.
But he goes to places that I want to go. I can't handle, But if he goes, hey, I need you to come with me to do this. I'm going to go with him because he's reaching the lost, and I'm going to honor his ministry because he is reaching the lost where they're at, just like I'm doing through Geek Devotions, reaching the geek culture.
Yeah.
And so we brought them in, and they felt very uncomfortable, and they did it. And some of them, you could tell they were just like, all right, I'm just going to do this thing. And it was awesome. Like it was like the last week of their videos coming out, and it was the Sunday. It was like the Saturday of right after their last episode came out, and Celeste and I got a message on Instagram, and they're like, "Hey," they commented on the video, and we're like, "Hey, thanks for watching. Do we know you?" Because they said Celeste's name directly, and they're like, "No, not likely. I live in the United Kingdom, and I'm actually an agnostic, but I'm really interested in religions, particularly Christianity, and when I found y'all's channel, it intrigued me, and so I decided to watch more of it, and I've gone back and watched some of your backlog, and so I was able to go back to our training center and say, look, because you were willing to get uncomfortable for a moment and do this, you've reached somebody in the United Kingdom who's an agnostic. I was like, most of you won't ever step foot out of Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
That's actually one of the biggest things that I learned going to India the first time.
Mm-hmm.
It's how to reach people in the UK.
No.
Seems
How to
fair.
be flexible. Yeah,
They conquered it.
All right. I did. Mic drop. Jesus, guys. I like the hurry up and wait, the flexibility, that get uncomfortable get uncomfortable with Jesus. It sounds like a really bad like 90s bumper sticker t-shirt. I think that's because we're all so busy trying to be in control of ourselves, of other people, and then our pride, because where we live puts value on who you are, like what you do and how you act. So I guess, for example, I don't really know. I feel like when I talk like this, I get all prideful because, well, I have pride issues. Anyway.
You're doing great.
I know. I mean, thanks. Perfect. Wow. Case in point. Oh my gosh, that slipped right out. Wow. I am thanks. I'm incredibly blunt and I guess like see-through when it comes to how I speak and how I act, and sometimes I apologize for it depending on who I'm around, if I feel like you need an apology from me. But I feel like the world we live in, I don't know about anywhere else but the Pacific Northwest, maybe not downtown Portland, but suburbs, there's this idea that we all need to be more logical, more proper in our responses. So how are you? I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Instead of how are you? I'm really, really terrible right now. Like crappy, or in other words, I'm not going to say. But, or getting that, like saying that right away and then being like, well, see you later. That's sometimes I do that. Because I know you don't want to actually talk to me. But I can't lie because it looks like I'm pooping my pants when I lie. I'm fine, thanks. I tried it one Sunday and then I think like
I have a brownie mix over here.
Like, I have like 7 people walk by me. I'm on hospitality team and I'm having a terrible day. And I was like, I'm just going to do what everybody else does and smile and say, I'm fine, thanks. And one friend was like, really? And I was like, no. But that whole idea of feeling like we need to be a certain way or act a certain way, or, I mean, going back to the point you were making, these people being uncomfortable, is like, it's okay every once in a while to get a little uncomfortable and see what happens. And going to India is, at least the first time, it's really uncomfortable.
Right.
Flying all that way and eating all the new food and meeting these kids who I'd never met anybody with HIV before. And I didn't know if they were going to like me and all of this stuff. But now, I mean, they've changed and I've changed and they've changed me and we've changed each other, and I'm babbling, but I like it. I like making people uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So, if you ever meet me, I do these social experiments to see what ruffles your feathers.
Do you like being uncomfortable yourself, though?
No, but I understand why God does it.
Good for you.
It is, as long as I'm in control of the situation.
Right.
I know why God does it, and I especially with the trips to India, I can tell faster now. The more I go, the more I'm like, oh, this again. But not always. I usually throw a fit first and then go, oh, right, this. Okay, what's on the other side? I have to remind myself, what's on the other side? Ooh, sorry, I bumped the mic. Right. What's on the other side of this uncomfortableness? What's on the other side of this change or whatever? Because ultimately God has never let me down.
Word.
Never. I mean, it felt like maybe I didn't get my way dozens of times, but that he never let me down. So if I turn around and go, okay, what's on the other side of this uncomfortableness? I would encourage people to do something uncomfortable.
Word. I heard somebody once say, it was, I think my pastor, and he said that when we finally shut up and listen to God, we will realize that we're never going to be disappointed with him. We may be disappointed in ourselves, we may be disappointed in the situation we're in, and we may be disappointed in other people, but never in God. And so he'll give us and provide for us and do what he needs to. We may not like it because we're disappointed that it's not what we wanted, but I won't be disappointed that it's what he gave me.
Every time. Every single time. Yep. Mm-hmm. For sure. I would definitely agree with that. Also, don't not go on a mission trip because, quote, you don't think you can raise the money, because God shows up every single time. I've been 4 times.
Word.
3 times, two times in a row, 3 times in a row. Mm-hmm. Was it 2 a break and then 2, or was it 1? I
think it was 1 a break and then 3.
3 in a row, once a year, for $3,500, $4,000, depending on when we're going, or what airline we get. Anyway, and the constant excuse I hear from people, and I love you all, but they don't give me a mic at church, so here's one mic. I went to school to be a pastor, so I got to preach somewhere. The constant excuse I hear is money. I don't have the money. No,
really?
You don't have the money, and you're not meant to have the money. If you feel like you cannot raise $4,000, good. You're in the right place. Step forward and see what God does. Because my first trip, I had no way to offer anything, maybe a penny. And I told God that, and I said, here is my obedience. I will commit to go and doing whatever you ask me to do. And I had to do, I don't even know, babysitting, pulling weeds. It was terrible. I hated every minute of all the fundraising things I had to do. But he kicked down the doors multiple times, and I was flooded with generosity by these people. And I do that every year now. Okay, God. Gord. Just kidding, sorry. Okay, God, what do you need me to do? One year it was a garage sale. I hated it so much.
Wasn't that this year?
No. I did it, but it was the year before, and it was even worse than this year.
Oh.
Cans have been another one that I'm learning to get along with, like collecting cans. But it's just this idea that if you feel like you can't do it, good, perfect, step into that, because that's where God shows up.
Word.
Stop saying you can't because you feel like it. Well, good, you can't. That's the point. Okay, bye
awesome.
Now.
That's awesome.
Amen.
I think I have one more spiritual thing that came to me that might lead off of that.
Okay.
It's all right if it doesn't. That was a really big tangent. I feel like I'm taking over Dallas's podcast. I'm sorry.
But you mentioned how God just kicked in the door and did these remarkable things.
Yeah.
And I think, thinking about this movie, and this actually came to me even before I rewatched it, just thinking back to the first time. I think there's this sense in some of us that, and you were sort of speaking to it too a little bit ago, Dallas, that we want things our own way. We want the story to go how we want it to go, whether we want to be the hero in it or whatever. We want the Sith to survive because it's a Star Wars story, whatever it is. We have our own ideas about how it's supposed to go. And in a Godzilla story, like Ford, he can't be the hero that takes out the Mutus. As bad as he may want to be, he isn't in this movie. But let's say there's the Admiral or other people that want to take out these giant creatures. And they try to do things their own way, and it doesn't really work out. But you have to leave it to Godzilla to really take care of the big issue. And I think we if you look back at Israel, I mean, no way they could take out Jericho all on their own. They need God to do it. But when they try to do things on their own self, I was looking up to see if there were battles that they tried to fight themselves and it didn't go poorly. I couldn't find anything last minute. I'm sorry. But I know there are instances where, like, Abraham, God said to Dallas, either of you can probably help me with this, but Dallas struck the rock for water.
Dallas struck the rock.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, Dallas struck the rock. Also, Moses. Moses struck the rock.
I don't know. Was it Abraham? It was definitely Moses.
Did I say Abraham before?
Because the people, the people were in the desert and they were getting mad and they wanted to go back to Egypt, and Moses was getting mad at them. So instead of obeying what God said, he was like, "Fine, you stupid children," and he smacked the rock with a stick.
So instead of like just waiting for God to provide water, or whatever it is, and that's why he didn't get to go into the Promised Land with everyone else, and yes. So there's this idea that if we really want the best things, if we want evil conquered, then we need to play a small part. Like God made us, and God has a plan for us. So he wants us to step into that plan for him. He wants us to maybe go to India. He wants us to reach geeks. He wants us to do what he's designed us to do and what he's calling us to do. But I think sometimes we think we need to do the bigger things, or that's a small thing. That picking weeds, I don't need to do that. I should be, like, I don't know, speaking in front of hundreds of people or thousands of people, or I should be in the NBA, or I should be a movie star or something like this. The waiting tables, this is I'm not.
How I feel about motherhood a lot of the times.
Oh, yeah, there you go. I should be a CEO. Why am I changing diapers?
That it isn't. That I struggle with the idea that being a mother is just as glorifying and God honoring as working or going to India. Or
it
whatever.
Absolutely is. I think sometimes though we need to realize that God has the big picture. God's the one that's going to be taking out evil, and is in control of things. And when we can relinquish our own control and trust in him, that's when things really work out for the best. Right. So, this movie just made me think of that, because I realized that they had to, just like Godzilla, take care of the Mutus, because I don't think I'm curious. Do you guys think that warhead would have destroyed them? I tend to think it wouldn't. They would have survived it.
I feel like they would have eaten it. I actually thought that's what was going to happen. When I watched it. I was like, you're going to just eat it, because that's all they were doing.
Right. That's exactly what I thought. I was like, why are we feeding them the exact same thing that it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
So that's a great point, though, is just let it go and let God handle it. You know?
But don't just say, well, I'm just going to sit in my lazy boy now.
No.
Because God can take care of whatever. You need to do your part, and
right. Well, it's like we're recording this on Tuesday for those of you listening right now, and on Tuesdays on our Facebook page we do a Bible study on Facebook Live, and you were in there with me earlier. We're talking about the Good Shepherd and how Jesus declares that he goes, "I am the Good Shepherd," and sometimes we speaking as pastors, we get this mindset of, we try to take on the role as the good shepherd. We can't.
Mm-hmm.
Christ is the good shepherd. Mm-hmm. We are just hired hands.
Yeah, we're pointing.
Right.
Sheep, why are you standing by me? Go to that man over there. He's glowing. You like him. Go to him. Go away from me, sheep.
Right.
I cannot give you any more food.
I am a sheep too, don't you know?
Yeah. Right. And that's the thing, is like my pastor likes says we're just, my pastor's just the head sheep. That's all it is. And of course, in Jesus' analogy there, he takes on several different roles within the analogy itself. But if you look at it, I mean, pastors and ministers of the gospel, we're just other hired hands to going, I'm here to work,
Mm-hmm.
and the shepherd, he's the one that does the main hard work. We're just there to, look, I'll handle my job, man. I'll get you the feed. I'll do my stuff. You get to stand guard at nighttime, guarding that sheep gate and beating off bears and jabberwockies or whatever,
or mutos, yeah.
Mutos, yeah, giant mutos. So that'd be interesting. Muto versus Jesus.
I just thought of that too. I mean, I imagine he could just like stop it and say, "Go away," and it's just like goes, or he waves his hand and it flings it up into space or something. That'd be pretty awesome.
That would be pretty neat. So, but yeah, that's a great point there, though, Francisco, about just let God handle it. Now, you still got to work, got stuff you got to do. Like you said, you can't just sit in your lazy boy and chill. I feel like we have a ridiculous amount of that right now, of people just like armchairing their religion and going, God's good, and we're not doing enough stuff, really. And, ranging from, just being a decent human being to the people around us and loving on the point of Jesus, or like what Chrissy's doing, going on a mission trip to India to love on some kids who just need some love.
Mm-hmm. And just understand that every face you see, even our president's, is a face made after the image of God.
Word.
And deserves the kind of love that Jesus would give. I mean, and it's hard for us because we're broken, right? But like shattered things can also reflect light, so it's okay. Which that's going to make people upset that I said that, but that's a
sermon. I'm going to write that one down.
I could totally. I mean, I don't know if you want me to beat that. I'm not trying to play high low or anything. But, yeah, I'll just be quiet. Yeah,
I like that though. Shattered things do reflect light.
Yeah, I couldn't say anything to top that. I was talking about the reference of the president.
Oh, okay.
Human beings are made in the image of Christ, and that's how I see them. That's what I try to do so that I can love on the people that I meet, no matter how they treat me.
Yeah.
True story.
That's my goal, ultimately. I don't do it to myself very well, but maybe I should walk around with a mirror. Oh, wait, pride. God knows. He's like, no mirror for you.
Well, he relates the Bible as a mirror, so you can walk around with that.
Oh, fair. I used to do that. I don't know why I stopped.
Walk around with the Bible?
Yep, in high school.
All right, guys. Well, I think this has been a really great conversation with y'all, and I appreciate you guys being on with us. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun.
No, it has been. It absolutely has been.
Come on, Francisco, get on board. It's been fantastic.
One of us.
Yes, like a Monty Python.
Thank you so much.
Holy Grail.
Oh my gosh, no! But thank you so much for inviting us on the show, Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do me a favor, real quick. Tell us how people can get hold of you guys, get hold of Retro Rewind, and Christy, how people can get a hold of the program you're doing where you're going to India. So why don't you just rock, paper, scissors it and go.
Uh-oh.
Sudden death.
Why do you have to breathe like that?
So people know we're doing something. It's not just silence.
He's doing push-ups.
Christy won. She got a paper over my rock, I think
rock,
it was.
Paper, scissors, lizard, Spock.
Oh, gosh.
Does that mean I go first?
Yes, you get to go first.
My name is Christy Ruiz.
We established that.
I don't know how you could grip. I think I'm on Facebook as just Christy Ruiz. Ruiz. Kristy Ruiz.
Good clarification.
And then the best way to contact me directly about what I'm doing is Facebook message. Or if you would like to look into Orphan Outreach and what they are doing as a program, I think it's just orphanoutreach.org. And they have orphanages or homes that they support set up all over the world. And it's pretty fantastic. But the one that is in India is called Gansabra,
Cool.
the home or the house of the cactus.
Oh, is that what that means? Oh, I didn't know that.
And for a little fun thing, Kamangaiche means I love you.
Oh.
In Hindi? Is it?
Miso.
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 Okay.
That's the language they speak.
I feel like that's a food.
It is. But you're also thinking of miso.
Oh, there you go.
Miso soup. Not miso. M-I-Z-O. All right, I'm done now. Francisco's turn.
You can find me on Twitter
Who am I?
and Instagram. I'm at FXRUIZX. I do mainly now pixel art illustrations. That's my thing I really like to do. The one I'm trying to get done now is one for the engineering room of the USS Enterprise, so that I can actually I did like a bunch of the bridge crew and some Borg, so I'm going to put them in like a Final Fantasy-esque battle in that, but I need the background, so I'm working on that. But you can check out my other my other pixel arts of Star Trek and other things at those. And you can find me on Facebook. I think I'm Francisco X Ruiz. Just that, I think. But do a search, or probably an easier way to find me is search Retro Rewind Podcast. You can do, let's see, on Facebook you can do facebook.com, instagram.com, or twitter.com.
You're just so complicated.
It's / or at Retro Rewind Pod. And then you can also find us on YouTube. We put pod trailers there. We put game streams. That's youtube.com / Retro Rewind Podcast. And our website is just retrorewindpodcast.com.
So what you're saying is you're part of this thing called the Retro Rewind Podcast?
Yes. I guess maybe I need to mention that again. Yes, Retro Rewind Podcast. I do a podcast with my good friend and co-host
Paul the Interrupter Powers.
The Master Interrupter Powers, yes.
Oh, he's been
Who you
promoted
just
to
channeled right now.
Somebody had to.
Who will be with us next week? I'm looking forward to him interrupting me.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, not him interrupting. I'm looking forward to listening to him. I've been on podcasts without him. I've never heard him on a podcast without me. So I'm really looking forward to hearing that.
Wait, he will be with Dallas?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then him and Dallas and maybe Celeste, I guess. I don't know.
Yes.
And then not you?
Not me.
Oh, no. Do you think he'll behave himself?
I guess we'll find out.
He'll be like, the music was horrible. That's what he'll say.
It probably
It
will.
wasn't John Williams.
That tile sequence is long, or the movie is long and boring.
I'm going to make him watch Trolls.
There you go.
He needs to
Gosh.
tell me what he thinks of
Oh,
Trolls.
man. All right. So, real quick before we close, what is y'all's your favorite Godzilla film, and B, your favorite Godzilla monster? We talked about in Geek Devotions on Friday that this is the first of the American franchises where we see Godzilla fight another monster. It's the first time in our King of the Monsters month where we talk about one where he's fighting other monsters. So, what's your favorite monster that Godzilla ever fought? And if you don't have one, what would you like to see him fight?
This is my favorite Godzilla movie.
Okay.
It's the only one I've ever seen. And I liked him fighting the Mudos. No, cheap. I think that he should fight that monster from Jurassic World.
Which one?
The genetically engineered,
Yeah.
not
Oh,
really
wow.
a T-Rex thing.
Yeah,
It'd be so much bigger than that.
I know. Also, and it was defeated by the swimming whale monster.
Yeah.
Thing. But to be fair, it was tipping over the edge while the velociraptors. I know, a pack of velociraptors.
That would be interesting. Yeah, Godzilla versus a swarm of something.
Yes,
That'd be interesting.
velociraptors. A lot of them.
Flying velociraptors.
No, that would be terrifying. Velociraptors are terrifying. Shudder. Okay. I'm done now.
For me, it's this movie as well, the 2014 Gareth Edwards version. I've seen the 1998 version. I don't think I've ever seen any of the full other movies. So I do want to see Shin Godzilla, but I haven't seen any of the other ones. As far as villains, I was chuckling over here while Christy was giving her answer because I'm thinking, I want to see it fight Jesus. I want to see Jesus just essentially force power it away and just bat it around.
Tickle.
Yeah, very much. But a real answer, I guess, man, that swarm idea, I really like that.
Bees.
Another sort of if it's one-on-one with something else,
Batman.
Well,
Superman.
I don't know how the fight
Aquaman.
went down, but I love the idea of the robot Godzilla.
Yeah, Mechagodzilla.
Mechagodzilla, yeah. So I guess that. I'll go with that.
Word. So, I'm not gonna lie, whenever I see the Mechagodzilla, because I'm a child of the 90s, I think of the Dragon Zord and the Green Ranger.
Oh, yeah, of course.
What now?
That's from Power Rangers.
The Dragon Zord.
It's morphin' time.
We know her opinions.
A big fan. Yeah.
No, I'm not a big fan. I was
right.
too busy watching
Come on.
My Little
Green
Pony.
Ranger, Tommy.
All right, guys. Will you have any final words for our listeners of Comm Talk?
Thanks for listening, and subscribe to Comm Talk if you haven't already. If you're just listening to this because you found this posted on Retro Rewind, or me or Christy posted it personally, give Comm Talk a subscribe, especially if you're into geeks. And if you're into geeks, go to
I'm into geeks.
Cupid,
I married one.
But no, if you're into like geekdom and fandom, it's an awesome
Fandom.
podcast.
You're just into fandom.
Well, your own fan. Oh my goodness!
Your own fandom. I'm into my own fandom. I'm my biggest fan.
Subscribe to Comm Talk and Geek Devotions. That's all I'll say.
Cool.
I have nothing else to say except for thanks for watching. Bye. I'll
Except
see
they're
y'all later.
listening to
Bye.
this.
I know. I was channeling a YouTuber.
Okay.
Mine.
Smash that subscribe button.
Oh, man.
Click
All right.
here.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this conversation that we had discussing Godzilla from 2014. As you just heard, this really was a really great in-depth conversation. A lot of great things took place, and I really enjoyed my time. Thank you so much, Francisco and Christy, for being on with us and taking time out of your busy schedule to be part of Comm Talk. You guys are simply amazing. And I encourage you guys that are out there listening to this, please check them out. Be part of their amazing community at Retro Rewind Podcast. And enjoy the creativity that's out there, all right? So that being said, I want to remind everybody, check out redbubble.com, search for Geek Devotions, and check out our Kaiju Wants a Taco t-shirt. All right, and do me a favor, if you decide to get your own nifty threads of a cute little adorable kaiju who just wants a taco, either in Japanese or in English, do me a favor, take a picture of yourself and hashtag Kaiju Wants a Taco, and then tag at Geek Devotions in that picture, or you can email us at geekdevotions@gmail.com. Thanks so much for taking time to listen to Comm Talk today. If you love this episode, head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It's very much appreciated. So until next Sunday, stay devoted, peace, and love.